Welcome. Welcome into this sacred space, which we make holy by our presence. Whether you are here in person or joining us online, each one of us contributes to holding this space for each one of us. I'd like to open with some words by Richard S. Gilbert. Come into the circle of caring. Come into the community of gentleness, of justice, of love. Come, and you will be refreshed. Let the healing power of this people penetrate you. Let loving kindness and joy pass through you. Let hope infuse you, and peace by the law of your heart. In this human circle, caring is a calling. All of us are called. So come into this circle of caring. As is our custom, I'm going to light our chalice candle. And for those of you at home, you might like to light one with me. We light this flame to mark the start of our shared time of worship together. May this flame hold our attention and be a symbol of our intention to create this holy space together. So let's sing. Our first hymn this morning is number 172 in the Green Books, and it's called Now Open Wide Your Hearts, My Friends, number 172. And let us pause for a moment in prayer. Let us be quiet without and within. Let the stillness be in us. Let the silence hold us. May we find the deep places of the soul and begin to let go of the distractions which plague us. May we let go of irritation, calm the confusion which inhibits us. Let go of fear. The quiet is within us. The stillness is in us. The silence will hold us. There are deep places in the soul. Here, may we find peace. Blessed be. And in this peaceful stillness and silence, I invite you to bring into your mind's eye, into your heart space, anyone known to you who may be suffering at this time. And just hold them gently in the light of your love. And may that same caring, compassionate feeling ripple outwards to those unknown to us, wherever they may be. As we hold all life, all beings, in the light, and wish them well. Amen. The theme of our, or at least my 2 services this month, is holding space. And I'm going to share a reading, or it's extracts actually, from a book called The Shared Pulpit by Erika Hewitt, who is a Unitarian Universalist, who has written a book for lay people and really anyone who's interested in leading worship. And it's a book that's in the form of a course, actually. And she speaks about holding space. So I just want to share some of her words with you. Each worship service is a unique moment in a congregation's life. Gathering for an hour on Sunday is a physical reminder of the community that we may have chosen to call home. Worship is both a calling forth of our best selves and an expression of acceptance of people as they are. It's a vessel in which we meet one another again and again to remind ourselves of who we are and who we wish to be. Holding the space can mean many things. I think of worship as a container, a strong, spacious vessel into which each person places themselves and their needs, where they merge with the needs of others. That vessel needs to make room for what people bring with them, and to make a promise about the ways they'll be cared for. When the space is held carefully, there's room for everyone, and then some. When elements of worship are approached in a careless or exclusionary way, however, the vessel tips, sloshing on people's figurative toes. It needs to be a safe enough space, a place where we take appropriate risks and make ourselves vulnerable, even as we challenge one another to grow. Some thoughts from Erika Hewitt. And our story is by Margaret Silf, and it's called Island Chapel. There was once a beautiful island. The islanders would walk along its shores every day. They listened to the waves crashing. They caught the wind in their faces. They tasted the salty tang in the air. They felt the sand between their toes, watched the seabirds soaring and swooping, and heard the breeze rustling through the trees. They were so overawed by the beauty of their island home that they felt a deep desire to praise and worship its creator. So they built a little chapel in the middle of the island. But when they went inside their chapel, they were sad to notice that they could no longer hear the waves or the rustling of the wind, or see the seabirds wheeling, or taste the salty air, or feel the kiss of the breeze or the caress of sand on their toes. To try to make up for this loss, they filled the chapel with their own words and songs in an attempt to recapture the magic of the mystery. But they disagreed about which words and which songs to use. Once united in community, they began to fragment into opposing factions. And gradually, more and more of them stopped going into the little chapel because they didn't find the Creator's Spirit there. One little girl, however, kept on coming back to sit there in the silence and in the stillness. Years passed, and she became a wise old woman. Every day she rejoiced in the wind and the waves of her island home, and every day she spent a quiet half hour in the chapel. People began to ask her why she did this. Well, she explained, if I listen carefully to the deep stillness there in the chapel, I hear the wind and the waves, the seagulls and the trees, right inside my heart, where they can never fade or die. And the Creator Spirit invites me to take a walk inside my soul. And the Spirit seems to whisper, outside, inside, I am everywhere. Beyond you, within you, beside you, above you, below you, around you. There is nowhere that I am not. Be at home in me. That's the story of the island chapel. So I invite you to sing again if you would like to. And our second hymn is number 177, again in our green hymn. And it's called We Can Become, or sometimes it's called Community Supporting Friends. But it's number 177. So in a moment, we're going to come to some time for quiet reflection. But just before that, I did put out little sheets that had some of the words that we looked at a couple of weeks ago, and also some extra words on there because there were some other suggestions too. I may not have captured all of those. So apologies if you had a word that isn't there. There's still a question mark, so you can add it. And it's just to stop and pause for a moment to just remind ourselves of those ways of being that we discussed and thought about. And just see if today any one of them comes into your mind as perhaps a way in which you feel you can contribute to holding the space here today. Just a thought of what it is you might be bringing. And I'm going to put that list in the chat box for people online. It's quite a long list, people online, so I hope it doesn't fill up the whole too much. There we go. Did that happen? No. Maybe it's too long. It might be. Then my apologies, because I think that I'll try and get that over to you later. But you can still consider what it is you might be bringing with you today that might help hold the space. And just keeping that at the back of your mind, because we all bring something that contributes. Whatever else we bring with us, whatever sadness, whatever frustrations or difficult things we might bring us, we also bring something positive as well. And just think about what that might be today. So what does it mean to hold space? Lisa Bovey-Kemper tells a story of her first night as a hospital chaplain when she was awakened suddenly in the middle of the night by her pager and called to the neonatal intensive care unit. A baby girl, one of twins, had taken a turn and was not expected to survive the night. Medical staff rushed back and forth trying everything, but eventually there was nothing more they could do. And she slowly faded away in her parents' arms. And Lisa said, all I could do was watch and pray. I had no medical expertise, and the family was tangled in that faraway place of shock and grief. After a while, the little girl was placed reverently in her cot next to her sister, and everyone in the unit circled round them. Everyone had a hand gently touching somebody else. It was silent, save the distant beeps and trills of medical machinery, she writes. And then she says, someone whispered to me, "Can you pray?" And she says, I had no earthly clue what to say. It was a profound gut-level panic. The knowledge that nothing I could say could alleviate or fix the inexplicable loss. But in that moment, a space opened in my heart. All I could do was name the pain and hold the space for it. And her prayer was, Lord, we are lost. She later said to name and hold space, to speak the truth as best she understood it, to hold space for what was there and to allow it to take its own path. That practice, speaking the truth and holding space, became the foundation of her ministry. Sometimes just a few words and intention can hold meaningful, significant space. Heather Plett wrote a book called The Art of Holding Space. And she says that holding space is what we do when we walk alongside a person or group on a journey through liminal space. That we do this without making them feel inadequate, without trying to fix them, and without trying to impact the outcome. We open our hearts, offer unconditional support, and let go of judgment and control. What is this liminal space of which she speaks? Well, Richard Rohr describes liminal space as a threshold where we are betwixt and between the familiar and the completely unknown. Thank you, Sheila. Where our old world is left behind, and we are not yet sure of the new existence where genuine newness can begin. We may find ourselves in liminal space at many times in our lives. Whenever there's an illness, a bereavement, the breakdown of a relationship, an accident, trauma of any kind. Or at a rite of passage, maybe a birth, puberty, marriage, moving house, coming out, changing jobs, menopause, and so on. In each case, there's a sense of being on a journey from what is known to what is not yet known. A journey in which we're likely to be changed, transformed even, in some way. Having someone or a community who can walk alongside us at these liminal times may help to hold space for us as we as we travel through the highs and lows of our lives. So what about coming here? You may not think of coming to church as being in a liminal space. Perhaps if you've been coming here for a long time, it feels like a very familiar, comfortable, safe space, which is nice. But there is a but, isn't there? Because I think worship is a liminal space, if it's done well. Because this time and space is qualitatively different. It is different from our, what we might call, normal lives, however not normal they may be. We enter here a different quality of time and space, and a particular way of being. When we come here, we've allowed ourselves to be drawn out of business as usual. And there is a rhythm to what we do. We enter, we greet each other, we may chat a little and then sit quietly. A candle is lit. Some words are spoken that call us into holy time, into holy space. A space which has been carefully prepared with flowers, with music. It's been set out. People come here an hour before the service to do all that work, to hold the space. Parker J. Palmer, writer, puts it that we invite the sacred into the space, so that here we can lower our defenses, show up with vulnerability and trust, and look deeply into each other's souls. Here, something mystical can show up that is beyond words. It's here that we are on holy ground, he writes. I like that phrase, something mystical can show up that is beyond words, like it did for the woman in the island chapel, perhaps. Like it did for the group of people around the little baby girl in the neonatal unit. Something shimmers. It may not, but it might. In any case, it becomes more possible, perhaps more likely, here to be touched by grace, by spirit, by God. It is more likely, perhaps, that we may open ourselves up to the possibility of glimpsing the divine, being touched by the Spirit. And here we may reasonably hope to feel connection and presence and a sense of belonging. We come here perhaps because we yearn to be whole and to help each other feel more whole too. This is a shared endeavour, a shared quest, a shared journey. And as we come prepared and ready and perhaps willing to be transported or inspired, to be challenged, to be nourished, to be healed even in some small way, there is a sense of possibility here. And so yes, this is liminal space. If we open ourselves up to it, we may leave feeling at least a little different from how we arrived. And that's because the space is held. It is held by the building for those of us who are in it. It is held by our simple rituals, but it is held most of all by our intention. Our intention to be fully present, to be present to ourselves, to be present to each other, to be present to the mystery, to the ineffable, to spirit, to the underlying hum and thrum of the universe, and to hear that in our own hearts. So do you perhaps bring with you an anticipation and a willingness to embrace whatever happens here? Do you maybe find yourself softening in this space, trusting that you will be held and not judged? Do you sense that there's more than just us here? That maybe there's something else holding us all? Perhaps you find you're more able to breathe easily in this space. Maybe your senses are more alert to detail, to nuance, to wonder, to awe. Maybe you find you need to say less and are willing to listen more. It is easy to say, although I think it is not correct to say, that there is nothing that holds us together here in Unitarian worship. It is easy to say that we believe what we like, that there's no depth. And I have heard people say it, and it always saddens me, because I believe we have a great gift here, a great opportunity here to do something extraordinarily well, which is to hold space. Uniquely, we can hold space, we can learn to hold space better, inclusively, with acceptance and respect. We can hold it in a way that recognizes and honors the divine in each and every one of us. And held well, this space can shine with love and light. Because it is not nothing to hold such a space. It is not commonplace to hold such a space. It is exceptional to do so. To hold a holy, liminal space in which genuine acceptance and transformation can take place. So let us honor how precious, how unique, and how potentially healing this space can be. It is holy space, and we create it together. Blessed be. And the only song I could really think we could sing is number 208, which is When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. So please sing it. This is in the purple hymn book, hymn number 208. Some closing words by Vincent Silliman. A day. Yes, another day. This day is ours. Its beauty, its promise, its weight of sorrow and disappointment. The brightness of its opportunity for doing and achieving, of its opportunity for the deepening of love and understanding. This day is ours, even as we make it ours by the readiness and warmth of our appreciations. For from it we shall receive, according to the measure of our giving. Let our giving be of ourselves and from the heart. May there be laughter in this day, and if there be tears, then generous tears. Another day? Ah, yes, a day. Enjoy it.